Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is Stephen Kutcher.
Number 2.
My name is Stephen Kutcher.
Number 3.
My name is Stephen Kutcher.
Only one of these people is the real Stephen Kutcher, and is the only one sworn to tell the truth. Now, let's meet our panel. Co-star of Murder, She Wrote, Ron Masak. Syndicated newspaper columnist and reporter for Current Affairs, Cindy Adams. Four-time Super Bowl champion and MVP, Lynn Swann. And Emmy Award winner for the Golden Girls, Betty White. Here's the host of To Tell the Truth, Gordon Elliott.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome, panel. You look gorgeous again.
I always dress like this at 9 o'clock in the morning.
You do, I can tell.
I come home looking like this. I don't know how good they are.
Left over from the night before. Okay, let's get right to the story presented by our first team of challengers, all three of whom claim to be Stephen Kutcher. I, Stephen Kutcher, am an agent. My clients are insects. I'm the guy the studios call when the script calls for an insect to do a crawl on. I don't have to look for some of my clients. They live with me. In my house, scorpions are in my freezer. Caterpillars are hatching in the living room. The cockroaches are happy eating dog chow. And hundreds of dead insects line my drawers. My creepy crawly movie stars have been thrown in Richard Burton's face and have crawled up Farrah Fawcett's thigh. But my most challenging assignment was to corral and scatter on cue 100 spiders who can run, jump, walk, upside down, and spin a web in the hit movie Arachnophobia. Signed, Stephen Kutcher. Welcome, gentlemen, and we'll be back to find more about our Hollywood entomologist right after this break. Welcome back to Tell the Truth. All right, panel, these three people all claim to be Stephen Kutcher, bug wrangler to the stars. Let's start the questioning on this with Betty White.
What is the other poisonous, very poisonous snake, in the, spider in this country? There's the black widow, and what is the other one?
Which number?
Number 1. Oh, I did it. I'm sorry, number 1.
It's called the brown recluse, also known as the fiddler or violin spider.
Number 2, how many legs on a tarantula?
8.
Number 3, how poisonous is a tarantula?
It's not very poisonous at all. It has a mild poison, just very mild, not harmful to humans.
Number 2, what is the largest?
Sorry, Betty, we got to move on.
I wasn't going to ask anything to do with spiders. It was going to be a fascinating thing.
Oh, you can write that down. We can
you whisper it to me? I can finish it up.
What
is the largest?
What is it?
Okay.
Come on, Lynn.
Number 2, what percentage do you get from your clients?
100%.
100%. Sorry. You don't... Oh, great agent you turn out to be. Oh, look for this guy to help you out. Number 3, do you get nervous or afraid around any insect?
Only around a black widow because they're highly poisonous.
Number 1, who would ever come to your house for dinner?
Well, I have friends who are entomologists as well as I am, and they have no problems with my
Sounds like
6- and 8-legged buddies.
Sounds like a laugh a minute. I think I'd be looking through my mashed potatoes all the time.
They hang around together. Cindy.
Number 3, what do you get for a cockroach that can do a 10-minute stand-up?
I get a fair and equitable sum of money for it.
Number 2, are they really insects, or is that what you call your clients?
I sometimes call them bugs.
That's great. Number 1, forget the questions. If you're an agent, can you get me a job?
No, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that, too. No,
We got to move along, Ron.
I used to have an agent like number 2 who took 100%. Number 1, can you train a spider?
No, what you do is you observe their behavior and then you control that within certain parameters.
Number 2, what insect crawled up Farrah Fawcett's thigh?
A wasp.
Number 3, what insect was thrown in Richard Burton's face?
A grasshopper.
And what film was that?
Exorcist 2.
Number 2, when you had in Arachnophobia with all of those spiders, how do you know you've got them all back?
Each one had a cup, and we counted the cups at the end.
Athletes, eh?
Nice one, Rod. And they're playing in the bowl next week. Time's up, panel. Time to vote for either number 1, number 2, and number 3. Our team of challengers will receive $500 for each incorrect vote, with a guarantee of $1,000. And if the panel is filled completely, the team of challengers wins $3,000. And panel, if you're ready to cast your ballots, we'll begin with Betty White.
I tell you, I thought I recognized number 2, but I think he just looks like someone. Himself, probably. Number 3 could very well be the person, but I kept thinking it wasn't number 1 because he was glaring back at us like he was daring us as a fooler would tend to do. But his answers were so right on, and even the way of corralling the spiders, I'm going to have to go for number 1. Go with number 1.
Okay, Lynn.
Number 2 seems like the quiet kind of guy who was a kid who just stayed home and played with his insects. Number 3, I don't know, those thick glasses. I mean, you know, maybe that helped him find them all the way on the ground. Everywhere, I don't know. Number 1 seemed to relish the idea of playing with them. He knew about them. So I think that's the kind of attitude that would carry you into an insect-filled adult life.
He looks like a sick individual is what you're saying. Okay, Cindy.
Number 1 does not look like a bugophile. Number 3 looks like he could possibly be it. With the hair. I don't know what the hair is. But you got to see that maybe things would be walking there.
Whoa.
Number 2, you look like the introverted type, because an extrovert is going to go out and play with larger things, you know, not little creatures. So you look to me. Do I have this right? Yes. I'm so nervous. I've never met bug people before.
Ron.
I'll tell you why I voted for number 1. Simply because I read somewhere where you cannot, of all the insects that you can train, that you cannot train a spider, and he knew that. And then, of course, he used that wonderful long word that I had no idea what it meant, but those were his friends.
There you go. The votes are all in. And look at it. 3 votes for number 1, 1 vote for number 2, and nothing for number 3. Now it's time, then, to meet the man whose business is bugs. Will the real Steve Kutcher please stand up? You got to speak carefully there, Betty. Let's find out who our imposters really are before we go on. Number 1, 3 votes. A great job. What's your name? What do you really do?
My name is Steve Peterson, and I work in a warehouse.
Okay. Number 3, I don't want to be personal about your hair, but Cindy's very blunt. What's your real name? What do you do?
Yeah, my name is Stanley Abney, and I'm an attorney.
Okay. Same client.
You're not going to sue me.
Well, there were 3 incorrect votes at $500 a vote, so your team will receive $1,500. But I do have one of your clients here, Steve. If you can come over and show us what he can do for his 100% that he pays you. And Betty, will you help me out on this? Betty, do you mind coming over? Come on, Betty. Come on, Betty. Come on, Betty. He's a nice fella. Down, sir. Down, sir. Oh, he's okay. Come on, Betty. A big round for Betty. There we go.
I think if you just hold this string like this, and you hold this string like this...
I hold this little bit.
And I think I'm going to need my paintbrush.
Oh, you got a paintbrush there to get... What's this fellow's name? Who is he?
This is Georgette.
Oh, Georgette. Yeah, right.
And we're going to take Georgette out.
And what is Georgette?
And I'm going to have her walk on the tightrope. You'll need to hold this very tight.
Ready?
You're not holding it tight.
I'm holding it tight. I'm holding my end tight, Betty.
There
Oh,
she
and she's
goes.
heading towards you.
Come back
All right.
the other way.
Oh, she's coming the other way? Oh, thanks very much for being on the show, Steve. Thank you, Betty. We'll be back after these few words. A woman who nearly died trying to stay thin. We're back to tell the truth. Let's meet our next team of challengers.
Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is Caroline Miller.
Number 2.
My name is Caroline Miller.
Number 3.
My name is Caroline Miller.
Okay, panel, it's up to you to locate the real Caroline Miller, and here is her story. Please read along with me. I, Caroline Miller, for more than 7 years, battled a deadly disease bulimia. I was addicted to food and suffered through an uncontrollable cycle of binging and purging. A typical binge would be 5 gallons of ice cream, a pizza, and 5 candy bars. And then I'd walk into the supermarket devouring food right off the shelves. Sometimes I'd eat up to 50,000 calories a day and then purge it all. At the time, I was a college student and engaged to be married. I had everything to live for, but I was killing myself, physically and emotionally. Finally, I joined a self-help group and realized I was not fighting this disease alone. With their support, I regained my self-esteem and control of my life. Now I run a foundation that helps other people. It's called FEED, the Foundation for Education About Eating Disorders. Signed, Caroline Miller. Welcome, ladies, and you all look beautiful. And let's start the questioning with Ron Mazak. Ron.
Well, whichever one you are, you're to be applauded because you are lovely. What was the most you weighed, number one?
Actually, my weight didn't fluctuate that much. I probably had less muscle and fluids that I needed, but it was about the same as it is now.
Number two, is that the same answer you would give?
No, I was an unusual case for bulimia. My weight ranged between 89 and 95 pounds.
Number three, your fiancé, was he part of the support group or?
No, nobody knew I was bulimic for all 7 years, so my husband didn't know either.
Did you marry the man you were engaged to, number three?
Yes, I did.
At the time? And
We've got to leave it there. Cindy Adams.
Number two, what was your first meal when you were finally healed?
Well, when I was finally healed, I think the only difference between what I eat now after being healed and what I ate then is a little less sugar and some of the sweet foods.
Number one, is there a profile for a bulimic or an anorexic? Can you smell one when you meet them?
Well, I definitely think that there are signs that are obvious, symptoms that are obvious. I think it comes from emotional problems, and you tend to want to fill the hole or the need with food. It's an addiction.
I see.
Lynn Swann.
Number three, if number one is correct, can you tell us what was the emotional problem you were trying to get away from?
I had very low self-esteem. I was a competitive swimmer, and there was a great deal of emphasis put on my weight and how I looked in a bathing suit.
Number two, no one ever noticed for 7 years that you were eating like a horse?
I didn't eat like a horse in front of people. It's a disease that mainly sticks with when you're alone.
Number one, is there...
Sorry, Betty White.
Number one, is this like, say, Alcoholics Anonymous? Once bulimic, are you always?
Well, yes. You go through a similar program, a 12-step program, and it's just a drug of choice.
Number two, what was the emotional problem that forced you into this?
Well, I was a ballet dancer at the time, studying professionally and living in a leotard and tights with 100 other girls my age and away from home at the time. It was very emotionally difficult. A lot of pressure.
Time is up, panel. Time to vote for either number one, number two, or number three. Our team of challengers will receive $500 for each incorrect vote with a guarantee of $1,000. And if the panel is filled completely, the team will receive $3,000. And the panel, you're ready to cast your votes. We'll begin with Ron.
I think we're all very well versed, and I eliminated number three because she said she was a competitive swimmer and not a diver. And most of the swimmers don't worry about the bulk because they'll blow it off. Number two had wonderful answers, but when number one talked about the other programs, you know, she kind of swayed me, so I went with number one.
Okay, Cindy.
Number three is very possible that she could have been, particularly that she's now an executive. She's dressed like an executive. Number one gives me the feeling that she was a possible. But number two was sort of smiling internally as the story was unfolding. So I therefore think it has to have been number two.
Okay. Lynn Swann?
I agree with all of those two, and I haven't been right so far, so I just picked number three.
Okay. You've admitted your defeat.
Yes, I have.
Betty?
I have a hunch that number two, that smile is kind of built in. I think that's there all the time, whether you're on this show or not. Number three was fine with the answers, but I really get a simpatico feeling with number one, that knowing those other problems and knowing the other... I didn't get a chance to ask at what age this hit you, and I wish I had.
We can ask it in a moment.
All right, number one, please.
All righty, there you go. The votes are in. 2 for number one, 1 for number two, 1 for number three. Now for the moment of truth. Will the real Caroline Miller please stand up? No.
you, Caroline.
And Caroline has written this book. It's called My Name is Caroline, and it tells her whole story. But just for your question, Betty, how old were you when this problem began to develop?
I was 15. I started to recover when I was 22, and I'm 28 now.
And for the women who are suffering with bulimia, what would you like to say to them right now?
Get some help. Tell somebody. There's a lot of very good help available now, and it's much easier to recover now than it was 6 years ago.
Okay, let's find out who our imposters really are. Number one, good job. Your real name?
Thank you. My name is Christina Gallegos, and I'm an artist. I paint mixed media, and I paint for architectural rendering.
Fantastic. Number two.
My name is Jody McClay, and I'm a pre-law student at Chapman College in Orange.
Okay, well, it looks like Lynn Swann lucked out with a fake.
I'd rather be lucky than good.
Okay.
I don't care.
Three correct votes and 500 to vote, so your team will receive $1,500, and thank you all for being with us today on To Tell the Truth. Congratulations. We'll be back to play one-on-one with someone from our studio audience right after this. Welcome back, and now it's time to play one-on-one from someone with our studio audience. Burton, who do you have for us today?
Well, Gordon, today I'd like you to meet Sherry Corey of Grovertown, Indiana.
Welcome, Sherry. Here is your chance to play one-on-one. I want you to meet a gentleman with two stories, Adrian Crane. Welcome, Adrian. Now, Sherry, Adrian is going to tell you two stories, only one of which is the truth. If you can spot the true story, you'll win $500. Adrian, what's your first story?
I climb mountains. I have made it to the top of the highest point in every state of the United States.
Now, that may or may not be the truth, Sherry. Let's listen to Adrian's second story.
I teach music. I teach the only course in the world that gives a degree in the bagpipes.
Okay, panel, to help Sherry win that $500, you'll ask one question about each of those stories. And we're going to start with story number one, that of the climber, Betty.
What is the highest point in Kansas?
The highest point in Kansas is called, appropriately enough, Mount Sunflower.
Lynn.
What's the lowest peak that you climbed in the States?
The lowest peak, it's difficult to call it a peak, but it's in fact the high point of Florida.
Cindy.
High point of Florida, a lot of drunks I met down there. How long did it take you to reach the top of whatever is in Pennsylvania?
It probably took me about 25 minutes because I would have run to the top from a couple of miles away.
Man who likes a run-up, Ron.
When you say all of the peaks in Alaska, did you climb anything in Alaska?
That's right. I climbed the highest one in each state, and Alaska was the highest of them all.
What mountain was that we were hanging on? Okay, you've heard Adrian's first story. Now story number two, the bagpipes. Betty?
Well, you teach bagpiping, but where did you learn to play the bagpipes?
Well, I have a master's in fine music from London University.
And you blew it.
Don't worry, we got it.
Okay, you're very funny, Betty. What about you, Lynn?
What kind of lips do you have to be a good bagpiper?
Well, you really need stamina because you have to keep the bladder inflated so that you can pump the air down the chanter.
Yeah, it's like a cocktail party. Cindy.
What do you guys wear under the little pleated skirt while you're blowing that thing?
That is a question that Scotsmen are often asked, and I think it's not correct to reveal on this show.
I can tell you, Cindy, nothing is worn. It's all in perfect working order. Ron.
Will this degree, you teach the only course that gives a degree in bagpipes, will this degree get any of your students into the, London Symphonic Orchestra or any, is there a lot of call for bagpipers around the world with degrees?
Well, there is actually, both in Scotland and also in the USA now. There's a large demand for them.
So put that in your pipe and...
Okay, now, Sherry, your turn. We're going to decide, now you've heard the cross-examination, is Adrian the climber or is he the bagpiper?
Well, Adrian, I think you're the bagpiper because I really didn't hear too many names of mountains or anything that you've climbed. I've never heard of Sunflower Mountain.
Okay, if you're right, you win $500. Adrian, what's your true story?
To tell the truth, I am the climber.
I'm sorry, Sherry, you were wrong, but we do have a very nice gift for you. Thanks for playing one-on-one. And Adrian, for stumping our guest, you win $1,000. And what is the highest mountain in America?
Well, the highest mountain in North America, and therefore the United States, is Mount McKinley, 20,320 feet high.
And you've covered every huge peak in America?
That is correct,
Okay.
and many small ones.
And Dolly Parton doesn't know you're in town yet. Okay, we'll be right back after these few words. Don't go away. Well, panel, you were fantastic. Going to see you again tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, we'll see you tomorrow. Same time next time. Bye-bye.
Flashback to the 70s with a Match Game Posse in that 70s hour. Tomorrow night at 11, only on GSN.